All right, coach. Big coming off a big series versus ranked Ohio State, came away with a tie and a 6-1 victory. Heading into another top 15 ranked weekend with number 9 BU. Just want to get your thoughts on the upcoming weekend and how you guys think you're doing.
Yeah, well, it was I say a satisfying weekend for us last weekend, because I think last year we went out to Ohio State and we played really well and really didn't have much to show for it except for an overtime loss. And I thought we played well enough to, garner more points. So this year it was nice for us to be able to come into that series and play really well and come out with a win and a tie. That's for sure. This weekend, I don't think I have to, let everybody know how important a weekend it is for us. Boston University, I think, could be the best team in our league. I think they have a combination of skill, size. They play hard. They've got good goaltending. They've got some dynamic defensemen and a really, really deep up front. It's going to be a great challenge for our team this week.
All right, we'll start off with questions. Go ahead, Bob.
Hey, Mike, I know the penalty kill's been really good so far. When you watch the video of the games, are the opponents getting as many quality shots as in previous years? And one other thing I notice about it, the forwards have been so aggressive this year. They're like, for Friday night, for instance, a lot of pressure in the Ohio State zone, trying to create some offense shorthanded.
Yeah, there's an old adage, Bob. You're never a man down until you're in your own zone. So if you can try to keep the play in obviously their zone or in the neutral zone, it's certainly advantageous for the penalty kill. As far as quality shots, I think that we're doing a decent job of limiting the chances that the power play gets to, outside type shots, and really doing a good job of trying to eliminate those second and third opportunities that, power plays goals tend to come on. So if we can, I trust our goaltenders to make the initial save. We got to do a good job of clearing out the front and making sure there aren't second and third opportunities.
All right, go ahead, Dan.
From what you've seen on video, are there any major differences with what Jay's doing with the team at BU that maybe they haven't been doing in the past?
I'm not sure. I think the team plays really hard. That's an impressive win for them last week after getting beaten 9-2 to come back and beat Michigan on the road the way they did is really impressive. And I'm not surprised. Jay was a tremendous competitor in his long, illustrious NHL career. And, a lot of times the team's going to take on the personality of its coach. So I'm not surprised by how hard they're playing.
Adam, go ahead.
You have a familiar face on the opposite bench now there at BU. So has there been any conversation with Joe in the last couple of days?
I haven't talked to Joe in the last couple of days, and I just haven't. It's not designed that way. I'm sure he's busy. I'm busy. I do talk to him quite frequently. It's, it's not a relationship that certainly is fractured because Joe decided to take another opportunity at BU. He did an awesome job for us here while he was at UConn. He'll be a lifelong friend. And this weekend, we just happen to be opponents.
Bob, go ahead.
Mike, what about their young guys, their new guys? How talented are these guys, along to complement Tuck and Fenstory and those sort of guys?
Yeah, they get an interesting mix, Bob, because they have a lot of experience with Phillips and O'Brien and Skoog and Peterson and Tuck. And then they bring in some really talented young kids, Wilmer and Green and Hudson, especially both Hudsons are good players, and Lane's really dynamic offensively from the defensive standpoint. So I think they've got a pretty good mix. You know, it's always nice when you can bring in really talented freshmen, but you don't have to rely on them, you know, to play in all the big situations. They have enough experience up front and on the back end, you know, with McCarthy and Fensori, that they don't have to necessarily rely on their freshmen to carry the heavy load throughout a game.
Bob, do you have a follow-up? All right, we'll go to you, Dan.
Harrison's got 14 blocks. I think outside of Spets, no one else has more than 4. What has he been doing well on the defensive end so far this season?
He's just positionally always, I think, a byproduct of blocking a lot of shots is being positionally a really sound player. And that's Harrison. He doesn't get caught out of position. He reads plays well, and he gets his body between the shooter and the net. So I think that's one thing he really does. And it's also a skill. You know, there are guys that are really good at blocking shots, and Harrison's probably one of the better ones on our team for sure.
Then just defensively as a whole, it seems like he's been one of the better. You seen that from him? He's
consistent. Again, it's being a good defenseman. Obviously, you have to have there are some certainly techniques of having a great stick, having good feet, but a lot of it too is being smart intelligently and being positionally sound. And that's what he is. He very rarely gets caught out of position. And when you're in position, that's half the battle. And then he has a great stick. He's long. You know, you're seeing he's filled out. He's strong. He can handle guys in front of the net. So he's doing a lot of things really, really well for us.
Adam, we'll go over to you.
Yeah, looking at the team from the first 6 games, do you anticipate that extra skater position being something that solidifies, or will it continue to be a game-to-game decision?
I think that'll be a game-to-game decision. It'll be somewhat based on, I think, where our team is at this, current moment. It'll be based on our opposition. You know, do we feel that we're better with 13 forwards in this game, or is it more advantageous for us to have 7 defensemen? So that will be a game by game decision.
Go ahead, Dan.
Adam Dawes doesn't have a point yet on the season, but have you still been happy with him regardless of what it's shown up on the stat sheet?
Yeah, I think he's played solid minutes for us. I thought their line played really well on Saturday. And then he's doing a really nice job with that power play group with Spets and Reese and Capone and Bradley. They had some good looks on Saturday, and Adams creating a lot of that. He's got a lot of composure when he's got the puck on his stick on the power play. And I think he's doing a nice job for us.
Go ahead, Bob.
Mike, what about the ability to step on the gas when you get to the third period? You get a lead, and you in a few games so far during this stretch, you've been able to extend the lead third period wise.
Yeah, we're just trying to play as consistent as we can, Bob, throughout, the game. I don't want our third period constantly to be our best period, or our first period to be the best period, or we're a second period team. We need, in order to be a really good team, you got to be consistent through the entire 60 minutes. Now, if we're continuing to win third periods, and that becomes a trend, a lot of times that's conditioning, and I think our strength coach does a very good job of making sure our guys are, the workload's appropriate. They have the proper rest when they need it, and we have the proper conditioning to go deeper into games when we have to.
We're going to head over to Craig White quickly before you, Dan. Craig, go ahead.
Thanks, Colin. Appreciate it. Coach, wondering with the, I'll call it a breakthrough season last year, 16 new players this year and off to the best start in program history. How can you identify maybe the main factor or top couple of things that you believe has led to this team not missing a beat from last year when you lost so many players and had such a successful season?
Yeah, I think, and I've alluded to this a couple times. One of it's just a mentality, Craig. Like we believe that we can win every game now, and that wasn't always the case, I think. And last year, success made us reinforce that belief that we when we go into any game, no matter who we play, we feel we have the ability to win that hockey game. And now we're going to have to play really well to do it, but we have the belief that we have the talent in the room to win the hockey game. The other piece of it is we do have 16 new players, but I also feel like we have a lot of players coming back, and then some of the transfers we brought in have a ton of experience in this league. So it's not like they're true freshmen. So, of our right now, we still we have a lot of forwards that are playing minutes for us, and a lot of defensemen that we can count on that have a lot of experience. It's not necessarily like Matt Wood's really our only freshman on the top power play unit. Our penalty killers are pretty seasoned guys. We're working some freshmen in there, but they're mostly older guys that have a lot of experience. So we're not relying, when Jakob Kondelik and those guys came in as freshmen, that was a huge freshman class for us. We had to rely on them to be power play guys, to be penalty kill guys, to be 5-on-6, 6-on-5. And that's hard when they're freshmen and you're relying on them to play in those big minutes. We're not necessarily doing that this year. We're letting them work their way in slowly. And I think that's a big difference for our team, that we do have a lot of experience and a lot of guys who have played, a lot of college hockey minutes playing in important key roles for us.
If I could just follow up quickly, because you mentioned the transfers, is there any sort of institutional knowledge that Ty Amonte brings to the table that he has shared with you that, otherwise you wouldn't know?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. It's funny, not really. We've played BU so much. Ty will say, hey, listen, I like this guy. I think this guy likes to do this on faceoffs. Having watched him, this is a go-to move for him. But we know Boston. I've coached against Boston University for 30 years now. And they're always a team that's going to get after you. They're going to skate. They're super skilled. They're great in transition. And not a lot's changed over the years. They've got great tradition, and they've had a lot of success because they've played the same way for a long time.
All right, we'll go over you, Dan.
With Jake Flynn, both of his goals have come kind of on similar plays. I know one was the shorthanded, but where he's jumped up and hit that one-timer. Does his skating stand out among those defensemen where he's able to get up the ice and get involved in those plays?
No question. It's a great observation, and it's something that, Dan, we've tried to preach with our defensemen, was to join plays more. And Jake is probably our best skating defenseman back there. And that's one of his strongest attributes is being able to beat people up ice. And that's exactly what he did on both of those goals. They're almost carbon copies, where he opened up and one-time passes into the net. So we'd like to see more of that from him. Awesome.
Over to you, Adam.
For penalty kill, 23 of 23 on the season. How, not a sustainable number, not going to go the whole year without giving up a power play goal, but how much does that number reflect the consistency of what you're seeing from that group?
Yeah, Tyler Helton works with our penalty kill, and I think he's got some guys who, Hudson and Ryan Torberg and Chase Bradley, and Nick Capone to some extent, who's been killing some penalties for us. They all are very familiar with the way Tyler wants to kill. And I think Ty Amonte and Justin Pearson have picked it up pretty quickly. And we've been able to work in Tabor Heaslip a little bit and Jake Percival. And they get a lot of mental reps watching the older guys do it. So I think there is some familiarity there. And then, we have essentially 5 of our 6 defensemen have all killed penalties. So in the past. So like I said, Adam, there's a lot of experience there, and Tyler's done a good job of making sure that the key for a penalty kill, it doesn't matter really how you kill. If you want to be an aggressive kill, you can be aggressive. If you want to be more of a passive and take away lanes and try to block shots and get icings, that's effective as well. It's just the key is making sure that everybody's on the same page. 2 guys can't be aggressive and 2 guys can't be passive, and vice versa. It's really got to be guys working together and being on the same page. And I think Tyler's done a good job of getting our guys in that frame of mind.
Over to you, Dan.
I'm curious, Tyler's still a pretty young coach, even though he's been here a while, but for the first few years he was here, that Joe was the guy who's been here for a while, and now you had a little bit of a gap where he was the only assistant. Have you seen him maybe take a step forward, or maybe just feel the extra weight on his shoulders and take advantage of that over the summer?
Yeah, I don't think he feels any extra weight on his shoulders. The one thing that, it says that, whatever, Tyler's been coach for fourth year at UConn. It's his 10th year at UConn working with me. His first year, he was an undergraduate assistant, and I kind of had him do that. So for 3 years, he was an undergraduate assistant. And then 2 years, he was a graduate assistant. And now this is his 5th year in a full-time role. But he knows me inside and out. He knows like what I want from people and what my expectations are and what my expectations are for the staff. So he's become also great for Mike Pereira, and Joey Ferris is another guy that played for me and worked for me for a long time. So he knows exactly what I want. So that's I think Tyler, I don't look at him as a, relatively new coach. I look at him as a really experienced college hockey coach. And, he's excellent in so many different ways. Especially game planning for us. I think, I rely on him an awful lot in his knowledge of the game. And to another point, Dan, is he's been breaking down film of teams in this league for 10 years, and things don't change a whole lot over the course of time, especially when, Nate Lehman's been in the league a long time. Norm Basin's been in the league, Greg Carvel, like a lot of guys continue to, they tweak things and they might do things differently, but their overall philosophy usually stays the same. And it's probably the same as true for me. So when you have that type of knowledge and experience, it's certainly beneficial. And I really rely on him for not just penalty kill, but a lot of other game planning strategies.
Just in general, is it rare to have an assistant that didn't necessarily play a ton of college hockey? I think he had that 1 year, the year before you showed up, but like Joe, obviously national champion, Mike at UMass, and then a little bit in the AHL. I think all your other assistants even had some professional time. So is it rare to have a guy with so little college experience, but doing what he's doing?
I don't know. I've seen some great coaches. I mean, the great, Sean Walsh, who I thought was one of the incredible coaches that I had was able to coach against and know for a number of years. I mean, it's remarkable to me that he's passed away almost 20 years now, but I think he was a 3rd string goalie at Bowling Green, and there are a lot of guys that I don't think necessarily had illustrious playing careers or a ton of pedigree as a player, but have been great coaches. John Cooper never even played hockey, I don't think. I think he was a lacrosse guy, and he's won Stanley Cups. I don't know his whole background, but I know that he didn't have an illustrious playing career, and he's won 2 Stanley Cups. So Tyler played and I've always say it was probably one of the dumbest decisions, but turned out to be great, was cutting him after his freshman year. When I look back on it, I probably shouldn't have cut him, but I'm glad I did, because he's been an unbelievable asset to this program. And not only that, he's going to be a head coach someday. There's no question in my mind.
Then just switching gears, health-wise, how you doing going into the weekend on Thursday morning?
Yeah, we're good. I think we're good.
Awesome. We'll wrap it up with Craig lastly.
Yeah, thanks again, Colin and Coach. I'm wondering, what maybe you're willing to share about which goalie will play which night, if you're going to continue this same pattern, or even if you're not willing to share that, could you tell me about the two, comparatively speaking, and sort of what their strengths are on the ice?
Did Dan Conley put you up to this?
I've asked you about the goalies once this year, and I haven't done it again.
We have not made a decision yet on the goaltenders. I think that they're both. We obviously have confidence in both goaltenders, and they've played pretty well for us to this point. I think Logan is certainly probably more of a technical goaltender, and he's gets to us. He's smaller than Arseni for sure, but he's technical and he gets to his spots, and he's done a pretty good job of controlling rebounds. I think Arseni is definitely bigger and maybe a little more athletic than Logan, but not as efficient as a goaltender as Logan. So they have two very distinct styles, and I think Vince Stiletti, our goalie coach, does a fabulous job of not trying to change them into mold them into the goaltender he wants. He just tries to refine their strengths as goaltenders and work on what we perceive to be their shortcomings, and try to keep improving them, every day. And in some ways, teams probably have to prepare for two different goaltenders if they do, but we have confidence in both of them. That's for sure.
By the way, John Cooper was a practicing attorney for a long time, and you're right, did not have an illustrious playing career.
Yeah, so there you go.